All right, class, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, one of the most human ideas in all of psychology. We're going to explore a cognitive bias that explains why sometimes the confidence we have in ourselves and our actual abilities can be completely, and I mean spectacularly, out of sync.
So, let's start with just this, a number, 80%. Just let that hang there for a second. What on earth do you think 80% of people agree on?
Get this. Studies have found that 80% of drivers believe their driving skills are above average. Now, you don't have to be a math genius to see the problem here, right?
Which brings us to the big question for today. How can almost everyone be better than the average? I mean, mathematically, it just doesn't work. Well, the answer is hiding in a really powerful quirk of the human mind.
So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by unpacking this confidence paradox. Then, we'll look at the two sides of the coin, incompetence and expertise. After that, we'll figure out why this blind spot exists in our minds, and most importantly, we'll finish with how to escape what I call the ignorance trap.
All right, first up, let's put an official name to this bizarre little paradox of human confidence. It's called the Dunning-Kruger Effect, and here's the official definition. It's a cognitive bias where people who have a low ability at something, well, they just don't know they have a low ability. Their lack of skill actually prevents them from being able to see their lack of skill. It's a real catch-22.
And this isn't just some theory someone dreamed up. It comes from some really important research. Back in 1999, two psychologists at Cornell, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, set up an experiment. They tested students on skills like logic, grammar, and even something as subjective as humor. And then they did something key. They asked the students to guess how well they did.
And the results were, well, they were stunning. The students who performed the absolute worst, we're talking the bottom quarter, scoring around the 12th percentile, they were the most likely to overestimate their ability. On average, they thought they performed at the 62nd percentile. I mean, that is a massive 50-point gap between their reality and their perception. Just wild.
Dunning and Kruger themselves called this the dual burden, or sometimes the double curse. And this is the key takeaway. It's a two-part problem. Part one, you're making mistakes. Part two, the very same incompetence that's causing the mistakes makes you blind to them. You literally can't see that you're wrong.
Okay, but the story doesn't end there. Because this effect isn't just about people with low skills. It gets even weirder when you look at the other end of the spectrum.
So you have these two extremes. On one side, you've got the unskilled. They suffer from something called illusory superiority. They're walking around thinking they're geniuses. But on the other side, you have the actual experts, and they often suffer from the opposite, illusory inferiority. A task is so easy for them, they just assume it must be that easy for everyone. They consistently underestimate just how good they are compared to everyone else.
And this leads to something I bet a lot of you have felt at some point, imposter syndrome. This is when really competent, really skilled people feel like they're a total fraud. They're constantly doubting themselves, just waiting for someone to find them out. It is the polar opposite of that unearned confidence we see in the Dunning-Kruger effect.
So, this begs a massive question, right? Why? Why on earth does our brain work this way? What's the mechanism that creates this huge blind spot in how we see ourselves?
So yeah, what's really going on here? What's the fundamental reason we can be so incredibly wrong about our own abilities?
The answer really boils down to one word. It's a bit of a fancy one, but it's important. Metacognition. All this means is thinking about your own thinking. It's your ability to take a step back, look at your own thought process, and evaluate it. It's self-awareness, plain and simple.
Let me put it another way. The exact same skills you need to write a good essay are the skills you need to recognize a good essay when you see one. If you're a terrible writer, you literally lack the mental tools to see how terrible your writing is. Poor performers can't spot their own flaws because the toolkit is empty.
Now, for the sake of good science, I should mention that some researchers think it's not just about metacognition. There might be some statistical noise involved or just our basic human desire to feel good about ourselves, that better than average effect. But the core finding, that we are often terrible judges of our own competence, that's a really solid observation.
Okay, I know this all sounds a little depressing. You might be thinking, great, so we're all just stuck in our own little bubbles of ignorance? No, not at all. Which brings us to our final and most important section, how to fight back and build real self-awareness. Here's your toolkit. 3 simple things. Number 1, Challenge yourself. Always be asking, how might I be wrong about this? Be your own devil's advocate. Number 2, and this is maybe the hardest one, seek out honest, constructive criticism, not from people who will just tell you what you want to hear, but from true experts. And when they give it to you, just listen. Don't get defensive. And number 3, never, ever stop learning. The more you learn, the more you'll realize just how big the world of knowledge is, and that's a very good, very humbling thing.
And to really make this stick, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Seriously, that thing you feel 100% confident about? Maybe that's the very thing you should be questioning. When someone gives you criticism, do you really listen, or does your ego immediately put up a wall? Be honest. We all do it sometimes.
You know, this isn't some newfangled idea. Charles Darwin noticed this more than 100 years ago. He basically said that the less you know, the more confident you're likely to be. True knowledge, real expertise, almost always comes with a big dose of humility.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. The first rule of the Dunning-Kruger Club is, you don't know you're in the Dunning-Kruger Club. So think about it. What's one thing in your life that you're absolutely sure about, that you're an expert in, and what might happen if you approached it with just a little more curiosity, just a little less certainty? Think on that. Class dismissed.